Assault and battery. Hosted by Mel and Kelly. Forget what you know. Forget what you know. Assault and battery.
And we are live. Welcome back to Assault and Battery. I'm Kelly Thul at KELLYTHUL on Twitter. And with me, as always, is Mel.
Hey everybody, I'm Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, and we have a special guest back. Say hello, special guest.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike at Official Pagan, and it's a huge honor to be back on the show.
Thank you.
And I'm super excited to check this video out on YouTube when we're done, because I'm fairly certain that Mike will be an ominous floating doll head for the entire show, which will be awesome.
Yes, totally cool.
Alrighty. So,
Ominous Floating Doll Head is going to be the name of my memoir someday.
that would be a great name.
I like it.
Excellent.
Totally cool.
Well,
so jump right in? Or?
Yeah, let's. Unless anyone needs recovery time, there was a certain level of intensity to tonight's show, but I think we just dive right in.
Okay, this was an awesome episode. So this was episode 5.0 was the technical name, though the hashtag was Mike's Story, which was very fitting because this episode was all about Mike. So our cold open takes place a little bit earlier in the timeline from what we've been seeing. Mike is arriving in Albuquerque on a train, and his daughter-in-law, who I believe's name is Stacy, meets him at the train station. Now we know this is earlier in time because she's actually talking to him and seems happy to see him. And she tells him, he indicates he needs to go to the restroom, and she tells him she'll wait for him outside. The car's parked across the street. He goes into the restroom and then goes into the women's restroom and gets a sanitary napkin out of one of those neat little dispensers on the wall.
Now, not to interrupt really quickly, but am I the only one who thought that was a missed opportunity for product placement?
No, that's you.
Oh, Mike, you're so bloody.
Okay, let's not bring that toilet back into it because I had nightmares about that toilet.
This is like the third episode where we've had major toilet featurage between the prosecutor and then Tony, and now here.
That's true. It's a theme. Yeah. So Mike goes back to the men's room, takes his shirt off, and we see why he needs a pad. It's because he has a bullet wound in his shoulder, and Mike is the ultimate man. He slaps that pad on that bullet wound and puts his shirt back on, and he is on his way. So
Mike, I know you've had, a great deal of experience dealing with field dressing gunshot wounds. Is this kind of a best practice? Or
I'm pretty sure he got that off of WebMD.
Absolutely.
I missed that one. I'll have to go do some searches there.
It actually is something. They tell you to use maxi pads and diapers in emergencies to help stop bleeding as temporary bandages. So in emergency medicine and in veterinary medicine as well.
So Kelly, do you often carry maxi pads around with you in case you're shot?
I do not.
You need to.
I guess I'll be stocking up. Better safe than sorry. So
because you're
Absolutely.
pretty gangsta, so you never know when something like that could happen.
Yeah, that's not true. We'll go ahead. We're going to go ahead and I just, of all the characters that you, if I were to have had to guess which character in Better Call Saul would be the first male entering a female restroom, I got to tell you, Mike would have been pretty low on my list, but so. But
It's just how he rolls, man. He's not afraid.
Not at all.
He
We
did
had-
the polite thing. He yelled out janitor first.
Yes.
That's true.
He's a
did.
gentleman.
Indeed, he is. So then we go ahead and we move into Act 1, where we see kind of a familiar scene for us, which is Grandpa Mike giving Kaylee a push on a swing. And so then we do learn the lady that we saw last week at the end, giving him the stink eye, is Stacy, and is Kaylee's mom. And Kaylee's dad is gone, and Kaylee's dad was Matt, or Matty. Mike's kind of catching her up on some things, letting her know he's not like he was, and that he's back and he's solid. And so then she starts probing a little bit further with Mike about the time just before, we learned that Matt was killed, and said leading up to the time he was killed, he was moody. There was a late night call where he got very angry with somebody, and there was a big debate going on. She went kind of down the stairs to try and hear it, but she couldn't pick it up. But she thought it was Mike, and she kind of kept pressing him, but he really wasn't giving anything up. And he mentions that he wants to help, and he wants to be with his granddaughter. And they kind of end it there. And Mike heads out with his one lone duffel bag. All of his possessions are in this kind of lame little white duffel bag, I guess. And he goes out, waits for a taxi, and asks the taxi driver how well he knows the area. And we find out why. Because apparently this taxi driver
really knows the area.
Yeah, because what's the question there? So who's you don't need a veterinarian, you need a criminal veterinarian.
Yeah.
But Mike, and to keep things on the lowdown, we saw he had a bullet wound, so he goes to a vet to get it treated. And it doesn't look, my guess is this is not the first bullet wound that this particular veterinarian has treated.
No, he's got set prices and everything. That only comes from experience.
Which is good to know in case you guys are shot and you don't want to explain anything to the cops when you go to the hospital. You know that vets are worth more than just ketamine.
Yes.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you Googled that right before the show, didn't you, Mike?
I heard it on an after-school special.
Yes.
I assume it's bad.
Stay away from the K.
Yes. The more you know. And so
See, you learn on assault and battery.
that's right.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot from this show, really.
This was good, and then we bring in like bonus material, so it's such a great thing. So there's some negotiation around drugs that Mike's not really too interested in. I did love when he that I think the particular the medication that was closest to human pain relief was like $25 a pill. But it was going to be a bargain basement $10 or $15 if he was willing to take something less human-centric, which is...
which to me just reads fun.
I think so.
So you would think those prices would be flipped.
I would. Well, and I think Mel's not a stranger to this world.
No. Not at all. I'm well mired in it.
Is that the underground drug trade, or
No,
which
the
world are we
veterinary field.
discussing? Oh, okay.
Yes.
No gunshot wounds for you, though, Mel?
The stories I could tell, y'all. The stories I could tell. But legally, I can't.
Gotcha.
No. A lot of veterinary drugs are the same as human drugs. They're just not FDA approved for use in humans because the companies don't go through the testing. So, anyway, we get mad because all the good drugs go to the human side of the market, and we can't treat our animals with the good stuff. So.
So the important thing, the takeaway here is, if you're in a situation, Mel's the person to talk to.
No, don't come to me. I'm not a helpful person.
I have a feeling you're going to get a lot of at Karmic9 tweets.
Hashtag better call Mel.
Better call Mel. A lot of stuff like, hey, my dog's sick. If I crush this up and snort it, will he feel better?
Better call Mel.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, well, I see John has asked or made a comment in the Q&A. At least the vet didn't give Mike a distemper shot.
that we know of, but he did offer. So he suggested Mike get a sling, and Mike says, "What? Don't you have those here?" And I don't. And again, we'll have to tap into your. I don't imagine the sling is a particular kind of commonly used device in the veterinarian setting, Mel.
No, animals are not very cooperative when it comes to slings. That's why we put cones on their heads.
That's right. Which this vet offers, which, you know, as tempting as it is to go to the next within the next act where we've got Jimmy being Jimmy and lots of treasures there, I will take my quote from this act, which was, "I got a cone I could put around your neck," as my quote of the show, because that's about the last guy you want to say that to, because he probably punch you in the heart. But
yes,
that survived. And then and this was an episode that and it threw me a few times. It was all over the place timeline wise, because we have that. So that's Mike arriving in Albuquerque, and then now we're back to Mike at the police station. Just after the end of last week's episode, one would assume, and he is just saying lawyer, and they're like, "Oh, come on, why are you being so hard? We could have done this at the house." And Mike's not doing anything but saying the word lawyer, and they say, "Who do you want us to contact?" And we get to see Nita Will call McGill slide across the table.
Yep.
And that's the end of Act 1.
So we go right on into Act 2 with Jimmy showing up at the police station in his white Matlock suit. And my favorite quote came from this scene as he walks up to the police officers that are interviewing Mike, the ones from Philadelphia, and they actually make the comment that he looks like Matlock, and he's like, "No, I look like a young Paul Newman dressed as Matlock." That's my favorite quote of the episode. I decided to go lighthearted on this one since it was a little dark. So I particularly like that one.
Without missing a beat, too. He's got those kind of snappy. I really like that one, too.
Yes. So he goes into the room where Mike is. And Mike, apparently, when he called for a lawyer, also called for a coffee. And so Jimmy walks in, puts the coffee down, and this was another big contender for quote of the episode, but asked Mike, "What happened? The mayor didn't give you enough stickers?" So that was another good one. But Mike then proceeds to tell him why he brought the coffee. The coffee's not for Mike, it's for Jimmy. And he wants Jimmy to spill the coffee on the younger cop from Philadelphia so that Mike can pickpocket his notepad and find out what they know and what they're investigating, etc., and so forth. And Jimmy proceeds to tell Mike how he's a upstanding lawyer and he doesn't do things like that. And no, he's not going to do it. He will represent Mike to the best of his ability, legally and by the book.
And Mel, what did Jimmy call the particular plan that Mike had?
A Juan Valdez bump and dump.
It sounds like a really scary restaurant, too.
It sounded like a very bad line dance, but I did not want to participate. So
you're saying you won't see the bump and dump on Dancing with the Stars?
I wouldn't know because you couldn't pay me to watch that show.
I mean, no, I don't watch that either. What?
That's right. Yeah, that was it. Well, I don't know where that came from. That was
All the sequins give me a migraine. I just can't handle it. So the interview shortly gets underway, and we find out a few little things about Mike, because after all, this is Mike's story. So we find out that Mike was a Philadelphia cop for 30 years, and his son was also a cop and was killed about 9 months ago. And his partner and another cop were also there when Maddie was killed, and that was Hoffman and Finsky. And they mysteriously died about 3 months ago. Oddly enough, right after, or actually the day before, Mike came to Albuquerque.
Purely coincidental.
Yes, very coincidental. And so these police officers from Philadelphia are actually in Albuquerque interviewing Mike because things might seem a little bit fishy, but they're actually investigating Hoffman and Finsky's murders as a way of also trying to solve Maddie's murder. And they're trying to get Mike to cooperate, and he, of course, lawyered up, because that's what you do when you have Jimmy McGill in your back pocket.
Jimmy actually got the runner-up for my favorite quote, which was when he said, "Go Eagles."
just because he's pro-animal, right, Mike? Because you're not a big sports guy.
Yes.
Well, no, it's because it took me a second, but I was like, "That's our football team."
I know
So
that.
I felt really proud of myself.
You knew that was your football team?
It took me a minute, but yeah, I got there.
Okay.
And I totally blew earlier as this whole thing's starting off, because and maybe for all future shows we'll do this, but the whole "Gentlemen, we are prepared to indulge you" line, I think we might just start with "Better Call Saul fans, we are prepared to indulge you." Might be a nice way to start the podcast off, or the
Okay.
thingy, or whatever this is.
So they really don't find out much, and after the interview's basically over, and as they're getting up, we're still going, will Jimmy do it? Will Jimmy do it? Will he dump his coffee on this cop? And he does. Was there any doubt?
Not for me. Did you? So I had no doubt. Mike?
None at all. I mean, to me, the difference between the Jimmy arc and the Walter White arc is, with Walter White, you had somebody who was struggling to justify kind of going to their dark side and going down that path. Whereas with Jimmy, I feel like he's already well acquainted with his dark side and is struggling to fit better into society. But we all know he won't.
Right. I agree. I like that. I like that take on it. It's a good way to put it.
And this is so cool tonight. We have the busiest Q&A we've had so far for the show, and so thanks everybody for doing that. We've got Lee joining us tonight, and she's mentioning that and this will be helpful, because this is the kind of show we bring you. There's a vet in here, and we have Mel with all of her veterinary experience. There's Philly cops, and we have Mike with a lot of Philly cop experience. So we're
Sadly true.
And so Lee was mentioning the Philly cops must be pissed how they're being portrayed as dirty in the show. Just saying. Mike, comment?
My attorney advised me against commenting on anything like that.
Probably for the best.
Good answer.
I can't imagine Chicago, if we get any more Slippin' Jimmy backstory, I can't imagine that the Chicago cops are going to fare a lot better.
Probably not.
And Myrna wants coffee with any indulgence that we serve, we must serve coffee, which is always a good choice.
Yes, always. So obviously Jimmy spills the coffee, Mike lifts the notepad, they get back in Jimmy's crappy little car, and they're off.
The Suzuki Esteem.
Yes.
And this is where the actress that plays Kim, if you're not listening, and I think Mel and I have mentioned a few times before that your optimal Better Call Saul viewing is watching the show, enjoying a Sullen Battery afterwards, and then the next day or two catching the Better Call Saul Insider podcast by Kelly Dixon and Vince McGill. Because that's where they confirmed our guess last week that the nursing home was indeed Hector's nursing home. They confirmed that on the podcast, and we also saw it on the web link later.
Mm-hmm.
But she pointed out that she loves reading the scripts, and she goes, she just loved the direction where it says Saul's esteem takes a hard left, and it's just she's a smart lady. It's funny.
Yeah, that was a good one. So John wants to know in the Q&A, what do you think was the moment or the remark that made Jimmy decide to spill coffee? Anybody have an answer for that?
So my read is that once he heard this story starting to play out,
Mm-hmm.
What was happening, then he was like, I'm gonna help this guy however I can. If that's what he wants me to do, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. That was kind of my take on it when he realized that his son had been killed, and then Hoffman and Finsky had been killed. I kind of think he caught on pretty quick that Hoffman and Finsky were probably dirty.
I think that he just, as you guys said, when he heard what was going on and he saw in the direction all this was going, it allowed him to justify to himself that what he was doing was helping his client.
Yeah.
Just like when he got the money and he tried to, bill it all out
Mm-hmm.
to justify where that money came from.
Right. He's trying to be an upstanding citizen. He just has trouble.
It's hard.
Yes.
It is hard. It's harder than it looks.
And it's
Ellie's
sad
always saying it's hard.
And it's sad that we know where Jimmy's path eventually takes him, because what a promising career in elder law this man had. He was in his element, and so it is unfortunate.
You know what's sad, talking about the elder law thing and how he looked like Matlock? The other night I couldn't sleep. Came out into the living room, turned the TV on, Matlock was on, and I sat and watched it for a solid 15 minutes. Just because of this show and the Matlock references.
And then the next day he was walking around in a white suit. I think Mike could pull the Matlock look off. That would be nice.
Yeah.
So we got another good one from Lee. I'm gonna have to parse this one a little bit because we want to avoid any potential litigation. Lee mentioned that she did work for a shady vet. He opened up a practice in a state that will not be named because he wasn't allowed to practice in another state that will not be named. And she said, I don't know why. I just did my job.
Yes, once again, she was not privy to any illegal activity.
That's right. Full deniability. So.
Absolutely.
But these two states are not adjacent.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
The neighborhood that I grew up in is really, really strange in that it was a mixture of residential houses, doctor's offices, churches, industrial parks, like all this weird stuff. My house where I grew up was between a slaughterhouse on one side and a prosthetic limb factory.
Oh my God.
And around the corner from us was a vet's office that was constantly being broken into by people looking for drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the entirety. I never had pets as a kid, so that was my, I thought that, vets' offices were just there to be broken into for drugs.
They were just drug supply houses,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem. I used to work at a practice that had a lot of problems with people breaking in, but just so y'all know, 99.99% of all your vets out there are not engaging in any illegal activity.
That's right. It is not the official position.
As far as I know, the vet was not involved in this. This is people breaking into the vet's office.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because we actually don't like that when people break in and steal our drugs. We get angry.
You can't sell them for $25 a pill then.
That's right, and the little Eminals don't get them, and that's what they're there for.
I'm still trying to shake the image of a young Mike playing with his Tonka trucks in his backyard
Next to the
while on one
prosthetic limb
side,
factory.
yeah, as blood sprays over one side of the fence, and occasionally
It's
So
so
now-
accurate and so strange.
So now we know what happened to Mike.
Yeah, it all. When I say it out loud as an adult, a lot of things click into place for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. I have to be honest with you.
Oh.
Oh,
What was
sorry,
even
no.
better is eventually they closed down the slaughterhouse and someone bought the building and tried to reopen it as a fine dining restaurant,
Oh my God.
which obviously didn't work out because everybody knew it was a slaughterhouse a week
Mhm.
before then.
Yeah. Yeah.
They changed it to the Slaughterhouse, Haus, and did a little umlaut over the U.
Maybe if they had done that, though, this was not a high-end area that I grew up in, so maybe if they'd done that, it would have confused people enough. They would have tried it.
Mm-hmm. Or they may have just shown up with random cattle. You never know. Oh, so Lee has made another comment that Jimmy is a smart cookie and he's no rookie. It's so entertaining to see him try to do the right thing, but finding it so easy not to. Absolutely agree. I really like this show, and this was one of the best episodes. This may be my favorite episode. I don't know. It's so hard to tell.
And Myrna's pointed out that now, it is all coming together for us. Where did Judas, the fixation on Judith's head come by? If we start to think about the average of Mike between the left and right of his house, it all makes perfect sense.
Yes. Oh, so let's move to Act 3, Kelly.
Yeah, yep. And I did the last line in Act 2 was, of course, Jimmy telling Mike, they think you killed 2 cops, and Mike just going, yep. And so then we move into Act 3, and this is for the remainder of the episode. No Jimmy, and not a lot of light from here on out.
Right.
Good, really entertaining, but a little on the tougher side.
Mhm.
And so Act 3 starts with Mike talking to Stacy, and he's angry with her because he's really offended that she could think Matt was guilty. And he's like, why'd you call the cops, and all these types of things. And she points out that she found some money, around $6,000 worth of money, kind of tucked away in a suitcase. And Mike angrily says, my son was not dirty. Very, very angrily.
Yes.
At this point in this episode, did you think he was trying to convince himself, or he really believed it? Because I was in the he's trying to convince himself camp at this point.
No, I kind of figured that his son was innocent. I figured that it was going to be that Mike was the one that was dirty, and I wondered if it wasn't that Maddie got killed because Mike had done something wrong, but I didn't think that Maddie was dirty.
I definitely thought he was trying to convince himself, like Kelly said.
And this is tough. And so here's the thing that's a challenge with Jimmy. When we jump to Chicago and Slippin' Jimmy, or to Omaha with Sad Saul later in there, we have hair guidance to help us gauge the time frame. There's either the mullet's longer or the hair's thinner. But with Mike, when we're sliding back and forth in time, there's really no indication one way or another, because we move from this conversation with them to Mike in a coming outside of a bar where there are it's a cop bar apparently, because there are several police cars parked there, and he provides a little how-to for you car thieves out there, for those few cars that have the kind of locks that you can still do this with. Kind of a nice little string and noose set up through there to basically pop the lock on the car. He gets in the car. We don't see what he does. And then we see him go into the bar. He's drinking. He's got I mean, there's a lot of pain in Mike's face throughout this, whether it's from the bullet wound or thinking about Matt or in this scene here, but you can really tell he is in agony in this scene. And he's drinking away. And as he starts to walk out, we get a Godfather-esque quote. He then puts his hands around two officers in uniform, and a little bit of small talk, and he finishes off with, "I knew it was you," and kind of staggers away, which is the first time I tuned in and go, oh, wait a second, we've jumped back in time again, because I thought that was still the same night initially.
Yeah, the only thing was he had that same jacket on, that tan jacket that he was wearing at the very beginning of the episode.
See, this is the attention to detail I lack.
Yeah, I completely missed the jacket thing as well. I was with Kelly on that. I wasn't sure at first until he saw the two police officers sitting at the other end of the bar. I wasn't sure at first if that was meant to be now or in the past.
Yeah. So we go into Act 4, and Mike is still at the bar. He is the last person there, and the bartender's telling him it's closing time. Does he need to call him a cab? You know, et cetera, and so forth. And Mike appears to be extremely inebriated. And then he starts talking about he's moving to Albuquerque, whereas the bartender warns him there are tarantulas. So we know all about tarantulas from Breaking Bad. So he says he sold his car because, of course, he's going to Albuquerque, and he staggers out of the bar. He's going to walk home. And he is weaving all over the sidewalk as he's trying to walk home. And then a car pulls up next to him. It's a police car. And who is in it but Hoffman and Finsky? And, you know, they're being real nice, trying to give him a ride home because he's really drunk. And he's like, no, I'm walking. So they pull over and basically help him get into the back of the car. And while they're doing it, I can't keep Hoffman and Finsky straight, but one of them, I think it's Hoffman, takes his ankle gun because they don't want him to shoot himself, accidentally like. And they get back in the front. And then they start questioning him as to what he meant by that comment about he knew it was them. And still very, very drunk, Mike proceeds to tell them how it went down. His idea of what happened when Maddie was killed. Basically that they set it up in this crack house to make it look like this drug dealer killed him. And it was really him, and he knew it, and then he says he's going to prove it. And then he sort of passes out. So Hoffman and Finsky are giving each other the eye, and they're like, what are we going to do now? So they pull over into an alley, and they pull Mike out, and basically they're going to use the gun they took off of him and make it look like Mike has killed himself. However, as they're getting out of the car before they pull him out of the back seat, you see that Mike has got another gun hidden on him, and he pulls it out.
And he's significantly less wobbly.
Yes, he's not nearly as drunk now. And while they're standing a few feet away from him discussing, you know, how they're going to do this, because I think it was Hoffman is trying to sell Finsky on this idea. And all of a sudden, I don't remember what Mike called out to them, but all of a sudden they turn around and Mike's got a gun pointed at him, and then they start shooting.
He said something to the effect of, it was a good plan, that's what he would do.
Yes, thank you. And so we see how Mike gets shot. One of the guys manages to shoot him. He shoots one in the neck. I liked the effects on the blood spurt there. And then, you know, basically that he walks away. So then we are treated back to Mike talking to his daughter-in-law, Stacy. And basically he's confessing all of this to her. And now we're left with him trying to explain to her And this is all very, very heartbreaking. I just can't describe to you just how broken Mike was when he is telling her that Maddie wasn't dirty. Um, Everybody else in this precinct was dirty, taking money from bust. These drug dealers have more money on them when they bust them than these guys are ever going to make. And so everybody's dirty. Everybody takes a little bit, and you go along to get along. Because the one thing that cops find threatening is if you're going to threaten them with going to prison with all of the criminals that they've helped put there. So that's the biggest threat that you can give to them. And basically, Maddie wasn't going along with the plan. And he confesses that it was him on the phone at 2:30 in the morning with Maddie, trying to talk him down, and talk him into going along to get along, because otherwise something really bad was going to happen to him. These guys were going to kill him if he didn't get along and he didn't get on board with this scenario. And he ends up telling Maddie that he's dirty, that he's done this too. And it broke Maddie. And Mike is just horrified, and he's so upset, and he's crying. It's so painful to see Mike like this. It was a very moving part of the episode, and I can't possibly describe it as good as it was. So he broke him, and Maddie takes the money, but apparently Hoffman and Finsky weren't convinced of his sincerity and that he was going to keep the secret and he was going to go along with this. And 2 days after he took that money that she found in the suitcase, they killed him.
So Mike, so we got so your quote was in this section, Mike?
Yes, it was. When she asked what happened next, and he tells her, you know what happened next. It's a question of if you can live with it. I'm going to use that so often in my life now.
Yeah.
Even for things that are going to happen, I'm just going to tell people, you know what's coming next. Can you live with it?
Yes.
That's good. And we had a bunch of action in the chat window or the Q&A. So John McGivna, kind of playing back earlier in the scene when Mike broke into the vehicles, was thinking he was planting evidence, which I kind of thought was a possibility at that point in time. But then I really like John McGivna. No, this doesn't get you off the enemy of the state list, John, but he does bring up that, jumping back in time confused him too, and he thought Mike was drinking again, which is exactly what I thought. And so thank you, John, for keeping me company. It's pretty crafty of Mike. We now know when he broke into the car, what he did is he emptied their clips, which ended up not turning out so well for them. Mm-hmm. And then our wonderful Q&A took care of things. Lee was asking, "Hey, what was Jonathan Banks in the 80s?" And it was the awesome TV series Wise Guy, and that was what Jonathan Banks was in. But Myrna was able to answer that. So
yay!
Lots of Q&A. Actually, I like it.
Yeah. Cool. So, an all-around excellent episode, but not the most laugh-it-up episode.
No. And I had seen a cast interview recently where they were talking through that overall the overarching tone is a little less dark than Breaking Bad, that there's moments of drama and the guy gets run through a ringer and all those things, but that the overall tone, and Jonathan Banks was there, he goes, "I bring the darkness." And that there was darkness brought.
And who better?
That's right.
Yeah.
He had always been the performance had always been awesome in Breaking Bad, and in the show so far, this very kind of stoic guy. But we saw stuff from Mike that the character Mike that we've never seen before, and you could just tell how much it, for him to have to knock, his son held him up on a pedestal. He had to take that away from him to try and save his son's life. He had to break his son to get dirty. He did that. And at the end of the day, it still doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, he
And
did
like you
that
said,
scene so
Jonathan Banks was great in Breaking Bad and everything, but you really see his range as an actor now, and particularly in this episode.
well. Yeah, it's a great episode. It's great. I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah, I really did. And this was also on the Insider podcast where they were talking through saying each episode is kind of vastly different in structure and tone, and you've kind of seen that through there. That this one is unlike any other episode. There's no talking toilet in this one. But this is the same show that brought us the talking toilet last week, and so but it doesn't feel slapped together or disjointed. It's just different dimensions of the show.
Yeah. No,
The
I
writing
think
is
it's
so
fine,
great
though.
that you can transition from sex toilet to this dark monologue about what a broken character Mike is inside.
Yes.
Alleged sex toilet.
That's true. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump to conclusions about the sex toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony's just trying to help, y'all. Tony the toilet.
Be encouraging.
Yes.
That would be a really scary ringtone, by the way. But
Oh
yeah.
God.
Oh, Mike, you got a call. It's a big call. That'd be nice. Oh,
Terrifying.
goodness.
They need to get on that and release that as a ringtone.
We do. So on a lighter note, episode names. The remaining episode names have been released. I don't know if I'll be able to, in a time-efficient way, bring up IMDb to do that. But they are all out there. As we know, last week's episode was Alpine Shepherd Boy, because as Mel guessed and confirmed on the Insider podcast, the multi-conglomerate Jello Corporation was not interested in having their name utilized in a Better Call Saul episode.
With the sex toilet, I think it was a sex toilet. Otherwise, I think it would have been okay.
There's actually like a weird little trivia thing. There was a band called Green Jello who were sued by the Jello company, or at least under threat of suit by the Jello company. So they had to change their name to Green Jelly.
I remember that, I think. That sounds familiar.
So what type of music did Green Jello/Jelly play, Mike?
Artsy folk rock? No, that's a lie. It was over-exaggerated. They were a rock band, but their entire image was this over-exaggerated, cartoonish look and sound.
Very cool.
I don't know, that story sounds familiar. It's probably happened to many bands out there wanting to name themselves after a iconic food.
Well, I think too they were trying to be insulting. They were naming themselves Green Jello because everybody hates Green Jello.
Especially when you do this incomprehensible thing of put coleslaw in it, which I've never. I think that's like a satanic ritual or something. I don't know why people do that.
I didn't hate green Jello.
Really?
Really?
Unadulterated pure green Jello, or I mean, the problem was people stuck all kinds of weird crap in green Jello. was my experience as a child growing up, not next to a slaughterhouse.
What? Yeah. What did people slip into your green Jello, Kelly?
At the advice of my lawyer, I'm not allowed to further comment at this point in time.
I liked
Well,
green
darn it,
Jello.
I can't bring up the episode list easy for right now, but what I can tell you is that we have 2, if not 3 winners in the Guess the Name of the Episode contest.
Cool.
One of them is Jean's, Bingo. She selected Bingo, and Bingo is one of the episode names. And this is one we're going to have to go to the committee on, but Jay Davis or had offered up Marco in a as an idea. John McGevna offered up Marco Polo in it, and so there is actually a Marco episode. So Jeans is a guaranteed winner, and then we have it's either going to be Jay or Jay and John, and I think we should be magnanimous, and I think all three are winners in our book. So those will be the three winners.
Yes.
And we said fabulous prizes, yet to be determined, and we're still working out. But I feel I can confidently say the prizes that we can give away include, 1, honorary citizenship in one of 3 micronations identified on this very show. So they can choose honorary citizenship in Dragontown, which is my micronation. Mel, your micronation is Korglandia. Korglandia. I gotta think Jeans is going to Korglandia, but we'll see. And then Mike.
What was the name of my?
I think there was it changed through the show. There was
it was an ever evolving name.
Yeah. It was either the Great Pagan Nation or the Great Nation of Pagan. And
I'm gonna go with Great Nation of Pagan.
So the Great Nation of Pagan, Dragontown, or Korglandia. So they each will get honorary citizenship in the micronation of their choice. And in addition, they will receive, if they're willing to provide me a mailing address, a T-shirt from a failed.com venture called foulballguy.com. I have an ample supply of the foulballguy.com T-shirts available. We'll need to discuss what size you would like, but we'll be able to. So you get a foulballguy.com T-shirt and micronation citizenship, honorary. So that's the kind of prizes you get listening to this show.
Absolutely.
I mean, the citizenship alone makes this all worthwhile for anyone who's participating in guessing.
Absolutely. I would think that would be enough, but we're willing to go the extra mile. And
citizenship and a T-shirt.
So, yeah, what more can you ask for? Excellent.
Big bang for your buck, y'all.
So we'll be back next week, where hopefully, Mike's backstory. They covered a lot of territory tonight, which was great. We're going to probably continue to get a little more. That's going to play out, and it looks like we've got Jimmy back in action, and that'll be pretty darn awesome as well. So we will be back again at 10:15 next week for our next Assault Battery. Thank you, the folks that listened, either live or catch us later. Thanks for the folks tonight on the Q&A. It rocked. It was really, I hope it worked out well for you as a good way to kind of get the questions. It's really handy for us to kind of see them coming up this way. So as we keep going, if that works out for you, we love it if you continue to use it. So thanks, Lee, John, Myrna, for peppering us in there with good Q&A stuff. It was great.
Yep, because multitasking is not our best skill.
Correct. And this way we kind of look forward and see the words over on the side, and it's probably a little bit safer there. So
yes. So thanks, guys. We appreciate it
very much. And we'll be back next week. You want to say thanks, Mike? Because I got a big finishing line here. You want to say goodbye to the folks?
Well, in that case, I want to say goodbye to everybody, and thank you so much to you guys for having me back on.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Okay, well, we'll catch you next week. The question is, can you live with that?